You are currently the only person in this conference.
Total 11 to 12 வரைக்கும் கொஞ்சம் அமைதியா மட்டும் இருக்க சொல்லுங்க. இல்லைன்னா இதுவே டவுன்லோட் ஆக மாட்டேங்குது.
கனெக்ட் பண்ணிக்கோ. திரும்ப பண்ணுறேன்.
இது ஒரு 4 MB டவுன்லோட் ஆகுது. இவ்வளோ பாடுபடுது. கடவுளே.
கனெக்ட் ஆயிடுச்சா? இதுதான் ஹாட்ஸ்பாட் ஆஃப் பண்ணிடுறேன்.
இப்போ மொபைலுக்கு இந்த மொபைலுக்கு வராது. ஓகே, ஒன்றும் பிரச்சனை இல்லை.
You are currently the only person in this conference.
हेलो। हाँ, भोपाल में एक सेमिनार में रहे। यार क्यों इतना परेशान करते हो यार आप? इतना क्या जल्दी है आपको? फोन मंडे को कल फोन करो यार। सैटरडे संडे आपका फोन नहीं उठा लेते।
Sir, shall we start?
Yeah, we can
Jackie,
start.
you can start.
Okay. Hello and a very good morning, everyone. I welcome you all to today's webinar on fire and life safety. Design Free Service Consultants Private Limited has collaborated with us and have put together an amazing series of seminar on various topics related to building services and structures. Design Free Service Consultants is a multidisciplinary engineering consultancy company founded in March 2008 by dynamic and innovative professionals to bridge the gap between the ever-changing needs of the construction industry. They are one of the largest service providers in Southeast Asia, a consultancy with branches in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Vijayawada, Chennai, and Kolkata, with cumulative staff strength of 300 plus. Design Free provides the professional and the technical skills to plan, design, and supervise the construction of a wide range of services from conception to delivery, such as civil and structural engineering, public health engineering, fire and life safety systems, electrical engineering, HVAC and IBMS engineering. To begin with, it gives me immense pleasure to introduce our very prolific guest of today's webinar. We are honored this afternoon by the presence of Mr. Prashant Gururaj, who is a Technical Director, Fire and Life Safety at Design Tree Service Consultancy. After graduating BE Mechanical from Bangalore University, Karnataka, his diversified work experience in different organizations such as General Manager, Fire Protection Systems, NTAS Consultancy Service, Manager Design, Potential Service Consultants, Estimation Engineer, National Firefighting Manufacturing, Dubai, as a contract engineer, Fire Pro Systems Private Limited, as site engineer, Vijay Industries and Products. He is one of the key personnel at Design Tree Service Consultants. His expertise extends to designing of firefighting systems, fire protection systems, fire detection systems, various type of suppression systems, and also LV security systems, adapting various standards and codes like NBC, NFPA, FM Global, TAC, and other international standards for spectrum of projects like industries, power plants, substation, commercial high-rise buildings, residential apartments, multiplex, corporate buildings, star hotel, super specialty hospital, etc. With more than 19 years of experience in the field of fire and life safety domain, designing vibrant and various kinds of projects spanning across India and abroad, we are very pleased to have here with us Mr. Prashant Gururaj today. On behalf of Megan Soti School of Architecture, I welcome you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you all from McGinn's School of Architecture for collaborating with the Design Tree Service Consultants and giving us an opportunity to interact with the students and also get to know about the intellectual peoples in McGinn's and all the lecturers and the professors there. So saying that I'm visible to you and is the presentation seen? Should I go on to the presentation mode?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It's visible, sir, and it's
Yeah, so I am clearly audible, right? If you can please tell me saying that if I need to increase my voice or bit louder or whatever it is. Yeah. So starting on with the presentation on fire and life safety systems. Dear all, my friends, architects, you create the world, and we are the engineering services who collaborate with you. We go in hand with you to make the your creation and successful and livable creation. In that aspect, my colleagues and earlier weeks have presented you on the HVAC system and also on the electrical system and also on the civil structure system and other things. So now it is an opportunity to go ahead on the fire and life safety system. Why it is called as fire and life safety is because 70% of the design of fire, it is generally evolved around life safety. Life safety means creating an opportunity, creating an exit paths for an occupants to get out of. Make sure the envelope of ours is safe for occupancy purpose, safe for whatever the occupancy we are entitled to for doing the building. It is rightly designed for that one. And 30% of the part with regards to the fire. Fire is and the active suppressions of fire and proactive detections of fire. I'll come to that part. So here, when we look at fire and life safety, we have major rule book which is called as National Building Code. So we follow National Building Code for generally for the whole purpose of designing the fire and life safety aspects of the building. When I am continuing on that one, I'll also like to tell you is you create the building, but the one engineering service guy who spoils the environment or who spoils the envelope of your planning is fire and life safety guy. Why? Because you might have planned it in a very interesting way, or you have put your thoughts forward and created an out-of-box creation. But other services like electrical and HVAC go in hand with that one, and they will amalgamate with whatever that envelope, whatever the creation, what you have done. But I am the person, our fire and life safety is a system or a device or a domain which comes and spoils your out-of-box thinking, saying that yes, this out-of-box thinkings are good on paper. When it comes to the actual, certain efficacies what you need to plan, what you need to keep in mind for planning, for creating an envelope and safe envelope. So in this regard, I will start this particular domain starts asking you. You have to put a staircase here. You have to have your exit here. You have to plan your facade in this particular way only. Your building has to be in that particular angle only. You have to have certain setbacks from that side to this side. You need to give access to certain public vehicles like fire truck, fire engine, and other things. So these are what which creates you hurdles when you are planning, and what at last you think saying that I was creating something out of world imaginary thing, but once again it brought back to the contemporary thing which we see every now and then here. But that has to be like that. Why? Because we are building something where we are looking at an occupancy of that one, permanent occupancy of that one, where we might find and people from 8 to 80 staying there, or as young as a child may be staying there, or old as a 90-year-old may be also staying there. Okay. So coming on to that one, I'll just briefly touch upon all these contents which talks about what is the minimum criteria to construct an high-rise building, and what is the building setbacks we need to take care of, classification of the buildings, how the buildings are classified, and type of construction, what types of construction is allowed in India. And we generally have the discussion surrounding around Indian continent. So fire driveway, the travel distance, the staircase and its requirements, where and how the staircases should be there and should be planted. Refuge area, so it's also one of the major source, and it also determines the elevation of your building. So we discuss on that one, and the special features, if any. There are certain special features you come across in the buildings. So how do you work around with that one to make our envelope and neat and clean envelope. When I say in high-rise construction, you might all be knowing, say nobody does in firefighting design, or nobody approaches the government entities like a fire and emergency department of respective states to give any kind of a clearance or to give any kind of an adherence for buildings which is a row house building, or a 2-floor construction building, or 3-floor construction building. Like the buildings what you and me stay in row houses, we don't go for any kind of an approvals. Rather, we go for a development authority for giving the approval for that one, rather to come to fire and emergency department for any kind of an accreditation to the buildings. So National Building Code 2005, now the 2016 also has come up. So 2016 there was another revision which has happened for the National Building Code in 2016. So we follow 2016 as currently now. So all these guidelines which is stipulated from Government of India, it defines an high-rise building as a building which is more than 15 meters and above. Yeah, few of the states follow it differently. For example, in the state of Telangana, that is Hyderabad, they may say 18 meters. In the state of Gujarat, they may say 19 meters. In the state of Karnataka, they say that only 15 meters. So like that it is there. But as a guideline, and national level guidelines, what is released, it says as 15 meters and above. Okay. So for any building which is above 15 meters, we say that we need to approach the fire and emergency department for getting the approval for our envelope, and we start the programming part of designing with regards to fire and life safety requirements. The next, the major criteria for to design a high-rise building is you need to have an approach road. The approach road, in the sense, the road which is in front of your building or to the side of your building or onto the four sides of your plot, or majorly what we find is one side of the plot we find an one big road, and from there we take an driveway within our plot and come out and once again join back onto that particular approach road. This approach road, it has to be 12 meters wide for you to build a high-rise building. So students, when you see a building, when you go to a site inspection, when and customer calls you for a site inspection, you go for a site inspection. The first part what you need to see is you want to build a high-rise building. Is the road, the approach road is 12 meters wide, whether it is continuous, it should not be a dead end. There is another provision in NBC, National Building Code, saying that if it is a dead end, what you can do if it is a dead end. If it is a dead end, you can build the building only up to 30 meters in height. If the approach road of the plot, the road which is in front of the plot is ending up as a dead end, then you can build the building which is only up to 30 meters in height. Though the land parcel has a potential to reach the sky, the height is FSI is permissible to you. You can go up to the height whatever you want. Airport authority has given you concurrence for the height of 70-80 meters. So then also you cannot build. You have to restrict your building to 30 meters. So if the approach road is continuous, sky is the limit to you. Nobody can stop you from building or whatever the height is permissible in that particular parcel of land. And going on to certain other jurisdictory or authority requirements, you can plan the height of the building. Okay. So I have also mentioned that, saying that if it is a dead end and it should not be a cul-de-sac. Cul-de-sac means it should not be a roundabout. So I represent that one by a pictorial representation to you. You can see a plot which is coming and joining to an peripheral road or a main approach road, which is 80 feet in wide, or 16-18 meters in wide. So this qualifies for this particular the plot to be built in as an high-rise building. Any height we can go up to this plot. So this is the first step when we start putting pen on paper, saying that we have an approach road. We have a site abutting to that one, and the site directly goes and touches to the abutting road. That abutting road is minimum 12 meters wide. Then it is a clean go ahead for us. Building setbacks. The building setback in National Building Code is pretty different from the development authority of respective states and respective cities follows. The National Building Code gives you a development height as 1/3 height of the building. You need to leave the setback. For example, if the building height is 30 meters, you need to have 10 meters as the setback. Likewise, it goes up to 50 meters. It is 16 meters. Above 50 meters, it is 16 meters is the setback. Setback, I'll come to a pictorial representation of that one. So it is 16 meters as the setback. Now in NBC, it also says that when you cross 60 meters, you need to provide 18 meters setback. When you come to 90 meters, you have to provide 20 meters of setback and 24 meters of setback. Once again, this setback rules parallelly in conjunction with the development authority of the respective city. Like for Bangalore, it is Bangalore Development Authority. For Chennai, it is Chennai Municipal Authorities are there. For Hyderabad, it is Hyderabad Urban Development Authority is there. This authorities also has a governance with regards to the setback. We need to both check in contingency with both the things, and we need to design on the setback. So for example, if you are building any building which is of 50 meters and above, maximum setback is 16 meters. How the setback is measured? So So I'll show you. So if you look at this, the same representation of the building. So you have a sight line, which is a survey line, which is a survey boundary of the plot. You get that one. From that one, what you want to build. If you want to build a building of 30 meters height, you need to just offset the sight line within your premises to 10 meters. If it is a 30 meters building, as I said, 1/3 height of the building, or if you want to build an 50 or 55 meters or 60 meters height of the building, you need to just offset the sight line or the sight boundary to 16 meters within your premises. Then you get a building footprint. You cannot go behind that setback line. All our building has to be within that setback line is the understanding. You have done this one and you know this one. Just to recapitulate on particular things. Classification of the buildings. Buildings are classified into 9 different groups, starting from group A to group J. So residential building, the name itself defines you, saying that any residential in application or residential in nature, it is called as residential buildings. In residential buildings, if you have gone through the National Building Code, you find different types of residential buildings, right from an dormitory to a row house to a building of 30 meters height, a building of 24 meters height, building of 30 meters, 45 meters, 45 meters and above, and 60 meters and above. They're ongoing like that. So group B is educational buildings. Educational buildings majorly stands for the school buildings, the school and the school buildings, which generally governs under educational building. Institutional buildings. Here, institutional buildings, for examples, McGann's College of Architecture, a School of Architecture, it comes under institutional building. Why? Because it is an institution where education is given through all. So it comes under institutional building. Our hospitals comes under institutional building. And assembly building. Our mall and multiplex, it comes under assembly building. Group E is a business building where we do business, that is IT, ITES, campuses, and wherever you find computer peripherals and being installed or we use for a general business, it is called as business building. Mercantile building, mercantile name itself defines, if you have a small shops, the petty shops, it is called as a mercantile building. So any shop development or shop kind of a building which has been built, it comes under mercantile building. Industrial building, the name defines that it is it is something to do with the industries. In industries, we also have a storage building. Group H. Storage is, for example, a warehouse. Now we are seeing the Amazons and the Flipkarts and the Mintras of the world, where they store their materials. They store their materials at some certain place, which is called as a warehouse or which is called as a storage yard of them. That comes under the storage buildings. Hazardous buildings, it is once again to be doing with industrial building. It is a part of the industrial building only. Like all the industries, or some industries use certain amount of chemicals to further processing or the further manufacturing process. For example, an pharmaceutical company like Cipla or Biocon, they might use some of the acids for their manufacturing. Where do they store that particular acids? It will be stored in a separate building. With that building will be called as a hazardous building. Now, you might see that there is no hotel which has been hotel building where that is hotel goes into this particular thing. Hotel, once again, it comes under a subgroup under group A, because hotel is also recognized as a residential building where people come there for stay or they sleep there. So that is considered under a group A. Subgroup as A4, A5 and A6, it is defined somewhere. Certain divisions are there. Now there is mix match of this particular occupancies. For example, if I tell you an example of a mall and multiplex, you might have all visited the mall and multiplex. If I go to a mall and multiplex, this is a mixed occupancy development. Why it is called as a mixed occupancy development is there are certain occupancies which is mixed there. Like for example, an assembly building, which is basically a mall, and the multiplex comes an assembly building. And then mercantile, you see all the shops, the small shops which you find in the retail outlet. that is also there. So mercantile plus assembly building both come together, so it becomes a mixed occupancy development. And you'd see residential plus commercial coming up in some of the developments. It will be a business building plus residential building put together. Some residential building will also be seconded as an hotel or a service apartment. That comes as an the mixed occupancy development. When we come on to the type of constructions, type of construction is basically regarded against the fire resistance of the building. Type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4 construction. So in the tropical country like India, it is permitted for us to build a building with only non-combustible materials. You all know. So in Ooty, you might see some of the small houses or some of the houses which is done with wood. Like in the Western countries, they use wood for doing and row houses and other things. But in India, you don't see that kind of a thing. All the houses or anything is built with non-combustible materials. This is the primary of ours. So type 3 and type 4 construction is not allowed. Type 3 and type 4 construction is basically defines that if the building is built within combustible materials, like wood as the walls of the building, or roof of the building using the combustible nature materials and other things. So we all build the buildings with using non-combustible materials. So in India, type 1 and type 2 construction is only allowed. In this type 1 and type 2 construction, fire resistance is mentioned in National Building Code. What should be the fire resistance of the wall, what should be the fire resistance of the floor, what should be the fire resistance of the ceiling, and all these things will be mentioned in that one. So the minimum of 2 hours fire resistance is required for any building to be built. So you can see an residential apartment. If you are planning for a residential apartment, normally what you do is the external wall of the residential apartment you do with a 9-inch or say 8 inches block work, and which with 8 inches block work are 2 bricks put together to each other and plastering on both the sides, which gives you 9-inch, which gives you 2 hours of fire rating. Or you use a solid block of 6-inch with the plastering on both the sides, which give you 2 hours fire rating. Or now there are construction methodologies like aluminium formworks, which is and given names like Maiwan or other things, where you use an panel slabs, or where you pour the concrete to make a concrete wall. That concrete wall, it can be of 160 mm thick, which will give you 2 hours fire rating. This is on the external wall. When it comes to the internal partition walls, like a room wall or a living room wall or a kitchen wall and other things, it can be 100 mm thick, because only 1 hour fire rating is required for those kind of walls. Now, what is the fire rating required for the floor and the slab? The floor means the slab. That is also 2 hours. So hence that based on the loading requirement of the floor and other things, the slab thickness is defined, and the reinforcement of the slabs is also defined based on the IS codes to give you 2 hours fire rating. Now, sir, can I ask questions also? Means in parallel?
Yes, sir. You can ask the audience questions.
Yeah. So the one thing I just want to be, let us keeping it interactive is, if you are in a 20-floor building and you are at 15th floor, you see that 15th floor has caught fire. In Indian scenario, we are in India, you are in Chennai or you are in Bangalore. Here you see where all the super high-rise buildings. You are in 20-floor building. At the 15th floor, you see fire. What is that you try to do?
Go to the terrace, Prashant.
Yeah, one option is go to the terrace. How do you go to the terrace? Is catch at the staircase and go to the terrace. So once again, from 15th floor to 20th floor, you need to climb 5 floors for the terrace. And also we need to understand saying that you are all the students here can climb 5 floors. That is 15 meters, or if it is 4 meters per floor, it is 20 meters we can climb. If there is a pregnant lady, or if there is a little bit aged related, or now we also allow our disabled friendly friends to also be part of our program, or we keep them also as the colleagues of ours. They cannot climb 20 floors, lift will not be working. What they have to do?
Give them a refugee terrace, Mr. Prashant.
Yeah, correct. Refugee terrace is correct. If that particular 15th floor has a refugee terrace, they can go to refugee terrace, or
Go to balcony.
yeah, if it is a residential apartment, the good part is all the residential apartments has the balcony which is facing the open to surface, so you can go to balcony so that the fire and smoke will not come and create any kind of an problem to you. You can stay at the balcony if it is a residential. If it is a commercial building, 80 years office. Okay. So the first thing what a fire consultant like me or the fire department of any state says to you is, if you find any kind of an emergency in your building, like if I say for that same example, 15th floor, you need to come to staircase, get down by a floor, because fire and smoke, it only goes up, it doesn't comes down. Okay. And you are in a non-combustible building with type 1 or type 2 construction, which gives you 2 hours of fire rating. The slab is 2 hours of fire rated, the walls are 2 hours of fire rated. Fire and smoke doesn't comes below. So you have to come 1 floor below. So, or you can go to balcony, you can go to refuge area, whatever it is. But the principle is, you have to plan your staircases in such a way, the staircase position has to be in such a way, and I'll come to that one later. So in such a way, saying that you can reach the staircase within 3 minutes and you can come down by a floor within 3 minutes. That is the prima facie requirement of evacuation of the building. So just come down by a floor. This is the main source of evacuation of the fire, from the fire or smoke, any kind of a thing. So saying that the driveway, now we have the, as I said earlier, you plan and building, but we come and say that we need to provide a fire driveway surrounding to your building. That fire driveway should also cater to 45-ton load, because the fire truck, the fire engine which comes with, it comes with an available water within that one. There will be a solution called as aqueous film forming solution in that one. There will be a pump to pump the water and throw the water to the higher floors and higher levels. So, and it is an 8-wheel truck. So government has decided to go with a 45-ton load capacity. So when we build a building, we have a building and we have a podium, or we have an extended basement at the garage where the podium slab is there. That podium slab has to be designed for 45 tons load to cater to the fire truck load. Now, what is the requirement? I am defining about Karnataka. So Ooty has a different rule. Based on the state to state, these rules will change. 6 meters is the driveway required for the buildings which is less than 30 meters. 8 meters is the fire driveway required for more than 30 meters in height. Why 8 meters and 6 meter differentiation is because the fire truck what we are having in across India, in all the major cities now, it has the snorkel. The snorkel is an hydraulical jack kind of a snorkel. It the wheel get extended, or the arms get extended, and it holds onto the podium or the slab, and the hydraulically the snorkel goes above up to 78 meters. We have a snorkel which can go up to 78 meters in India now. So that snorkel is taken up for rescue purpose, and for emergency fighting purpose also, that snorkel is taken up. So for that one, the 8 meters driveway is required, or the 6 meters driveway is more than sufficient. This is a representation of the fire driveway. This building is an example of a building which is of 30 meters in height. So with 10 meters of setback and 6 meters of driveway all around the building, you can see the driveway is abutting to the building. the binary requirements like your staircase or, for example, a ramp. You can see it in this pictorial representation, the ramp. One is a ramp which is taking entry into the basement, the other ramp which is exiting out of the basement. You can see that none of the requirements like ramp or staircases are abutting to the building. It is coming after the driveway. So building next to the building, the driveway, after the driveway only you can plant your ramps, you can plant your staircases, or you can also plant your engineering devices. If you see in this particular link, where is my cursor is, these are all the transformers and diesel generators which is plonked onto the corner of the property. That is once again in the setback area. After the building, you have the driveway of 6 meters. After the 6 meters of driveway, we can plant our the capital equipments, our engineering services equipment requirements, the ramp which goes to the basement, ramp which is exiting out of the basement. Everything is abutting after the fire driveway. The fire driveway should be abutting to the building. Why? Because as close as possible, we need to get the fire truck for rescue operation. The farther we go, it is once again difficult. So we have to be as close as possible to the building.
Mr. Prashant, this is
Yeah.
Selva Kumar, Dean of this Megan's College. I just have a clarification for my students. This, while you are on the ramps to be placed along the compound wall, leaving the setback, is there another option available where you can put the ramps attached to the building, still keeping the setback clear?
Yeah, so I'll give that kind of an example also.
Yeah.
Now,
my only doubt is the student should not be thinking that they have to necessarily put the ramp outside the footprint of the building along the compound wall. I only question is, can it be the other way around, where you can annex it to the building, keeping the setback clear?
Absolutely, sir. Thanks for the clarification.
Prashant, thank you so much for making it so interactive. And, this is working wonderful dividends.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I also thank you, sir, for raising this kind of a questions. Why? Because if you come up with the questions, engineer has a solution for everything. So the solution for that one is, for example, I have an entry ramp here which is going to the basement. The same ramp can be planned here also within the building. Or the same ramp could have planned here also within the building. Okay.
Great.
This same ramp can be planned here also within the building. Okay.
Brilliant.
So what happens is that this is the edge of our building line. Within the edge of our building line, I can plan a ramp which is going inside to the basement and still be doing the driveway outside and go ahead and like that also. There is also an option like that. You have to get the ramp within the building or outside the building is after the driveway. You need to plan.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So this is majorly on the travel distance. This travel distance you can understand when I come to further slides of that one. Why? Because this defines majorly saying that where should be my staircase in the building. Now, as I said, you might be planning your building very interesting, making it as an out-of-box thinking, getting some different aspect to the building. And I have seen, we have fortunately done a lot of presentation to the architectural students and architectural colleges. We come across the planning of them. They'll plan very nicely, but they would have placed the staircase in some corner saying that, sir, I don't want to see the staircase in the front elevation. Yes, I appreciate that one, but it is majorly required for your building to get the clearance. All we need to understand first is, yes, I have a plan, I have a thought, I have put it on the paper, but it should not still stay only on the paper. It has to be eventually coming out as a nice building. For coming out as a nice building, there are a lot of statutory requirements and statutory efficacies what you need to fulfill to create a virtual image of that one. Otherwise, the thought process of yours still remains in the paper itself. So there, the travel distances are there, 22.5 meters, 30 meters. This will be explained a little bit more in deep when I come to the further slides. Just have a note on that one. Why this travel distance? This travel distance is very much required to plan my staircases. I have written it here. Travel distance from the farthest point to the staircase door should be within the permissible limits as specified in National Building Code. If National Building Code permits me 30 meters from your building, whatever the building you are planning, either it is a residential apartment building or a commercial building or a hotel or educational institute or an institutional building or an assembly building, whatever the building you are planning, from the farthest point to the staircase, it has to be within 30 meters. And there is also a subclass saying that any building which is sprinklered, you see an automatic sprinkler system which will be put on when you go across to the building. Now onwards, you have to start seeing the building. Sir, I am addressing to which semester students, sir?
You have students from second year, third year, fourth year, final year, and masters, Mr. Prashant.
Okay,
All
that's
six.
all students.
Oh yeah, I think only the first years are not there, and these subjects are primarily required for the third year students because it's part of the syllabus curriculum. But then, it'll be all the more useful for my fourth years and thesis doing students who are expecting their review in about 2 weeks' time. Whether they have incorporated these points or not, at least this knowledge will be of immense significance for them, Mr. Prashant.
Yes.
And
I'm
just
sure.
before we move to the next slide, if I may ask you for one more clarification to the students, when you say about this travel distance, is this flat travel distance or it is only above the ground floor, or does the travel distance holds good for the basement as well? Can you please clarify to the students?
Yeah. I'll certainly change the perspective of the students from now. After this presentation, I am sure that everybody goes back to their particular thesis or their particular project, what they are doing, and once again look at the aspects of life safety into that one. That is for sure, sir. And this travel distance is for the entire building. It starts from the basement or it starts from the garage where you are planning for a parking, and it goes to the upper levels. And how it is measured also I will show you in the pictorial representation in the next slide.
Great.
Yeah, this is a pictorial representation of one of the residential apartment. You see from the apartment, this is the furthest corner. From this furthest corner, I have to travel and I have to come to the staircase door within 45 meters. Why 45 meters? Why? Because this particular building is sprinklered. What is sprinkler? You go to the buildings, you go to your residential apartments, you have seen the mall and multiplexes, you have seen the office spaces. Students, when you raise your head and see, you can see a sprinkler, a stainless steel sprinkler is there. You have seen a lot of movies where automatically when the fire comes, the sprinkler bulb opens and the water starts coming out of that one. That is an automatic sprinkler. If you have that automatic sprinkler, you are permitted to enhance your travel distance from 30 meters to 50 meters extra. 30 plus 45 it becomes. So 30 plus 15 it becomes 45 meters. The travel distance with a sprinkler building it becomes 45 meters. The same way the travel distance becomes.
That was a residential building, no, Mr. Prashant?
Yeah, the residential building. That's
It'll
what.
be 22.5 plus 11.25.
Yeah, earlier it was like that. In 2016, until 2016, it was like that. After 2016, they have standardized saying that it is 30 plus 15 only for everywhere.
Oh, great, great.
Okay. So, and when you measure, so same thing, the same way of putting a P line and measuring in any of the buildings, either it is a commercial building or your mall and multiplex or a hotel building, you measure it like this only in the P line from ground floor and above. If it is in the basement, you measure through a radius circle, that is 45 meters radius circle. From the staircase door, you put a circle of 45 meters, and you see that 45 meter circle radius is overlapping with another staircase 45 meters radius circle. So if it is overlapping, then means to say that if a person is standing at middle of that location, he can have two exit paths. One, he can go left, one he can come to right. Both the ways within 45 meters, he reaches the staircase. This is the prima facie requirement. So often staircase and the travel distance. Now, now further moving on little bit deep diving on the staircase requirements. Now, National Building Code says that every 500 square meters of the floor area, we need to have one staircase. Okay. National Building Code also states that from the remote corner of the building to the staircase door, the travel distance should be within the prescribed limits, and the staircase width should be 1.2, 1.5, and 2 meters in height. I'll explain all these things. The thread of the staircase, the width of the staircase, where it should be minimum 300 mm. The riser of the staircase, it has to be 150 mm, that is 6 inches. And railings of the staircases, it should be minimum of 1 meter's height. And the staircase door should always open inwards, and the staircase headroom of 2.2 meters. Now, coming one point by point. So, if I have a building, say of 2,000 square meters or 1,500 square foot, say 1,200 square meters or 1,500 square foot, okay, 15,000 square foot. So what we have to do in that one, should I have 2 staircases, or should I have 1 staircase, or should I have 3 staircases, the question. Now, as per National Building Code, it says 500 square meters a staircase. When I have a building, when I have a floor plate, and in that floor plate, if I start having just a minute, if I see, I don't have a picture of that one. Sorry. In the floor plate, if I have 2 staircase, I have to be very sure saying that from any point of the building to the staircase, I reach within prescribed travel distance. That is what the travel distance what was discussing about earlier. We have 2 staircases in the building. In that 2 staircases, from the center of the building, center of the floor plate, if I go left, I have to reach the staircase within 45 meters. If I go right, I have to reach the staircase within 45 meters. That is the first requirement of placing the staircase. And what is the width of the staircase required? The width of the staircase required depends upon the occupancy of the building. If you are building a residential apartment building, then the width of the staircase is 1.2 and 1.25 meters, which is very much sufficient. If you are building a business building, the staircase width has to be 1.5 meters. If you are building an assembly building like mall and multiplex, you see the staircase widths are bigger. That is because it is 2 meters wide staircase. Okay. So you should not create any kind of a dead end situation in the within the building. Like you see in hotels, when you see a hotel, if you imagine a hotel, you see a long corridor in the hotel. The corridor obviously ends up as a dead end at one place, and you have the longish corridor. You can also see in a hotel, that hotel also, the staircases either will be at the dead end where the corridor is ending, or if the staircase, it is not at the dead end, the staircase will be exactly 15 meters from the dead end, within 15 meters from the dead end. That is also one of the NBC requirements. It will be 15 meters from the dead end. So within 15 meters, you need to reach the building if it is a dead end situation, dead end kind of a situation. But whereas in residential apartments and your office building or your assembly buildings or hospitals, you don't find the situation. Why? Because when you go inside the protected premises, or when you go inside the studio area, it is open. You don't find any dead ends there. Staircase thread width 300 mm minimum, and riser 150. Riser, why 150 is because it is means it is very easy to climb with 6 inches and height of the riser. If it is less, it is once again there is a trip hazard. If it is more, once again it is a trip hazard. To whom it is a trip hazard? The trip hazard is majorly for fire personals. In case of emergency, when they come, they have to carry certain amount of weight and other things and to climb the stairs, because that time lift will not be working to climb the stairs. In that stairs, 150 mm is an these are all the trial and error done, and it is fixed saying that 150 mm is a better height for a riser. And railings, obviously you see the railings on the one side of the staircase, that railing should also be 1 meters in height. And width of the staircase will be measured from the wall to the edge of the railings. You cannot get the railings within the width of the staircase and say that this is part of the staircase. That is also not permissible to do. And the door of the staircase, So all firefighting methodology is push and get out, push and go to safety, or push and get out of the building. When you see all the staircases door opens inwards. From your within the staircase, you have to open the door inwards and go into the studio or go into the occupied space. Or from an occupied space, when you are coming into the staircase, you have to push the door and you have to get inside the staircase. Why? Because once you push, come in, the door gets closed, you forget what is happening behind that door. You are already, if the staircase is there, that staircase is an protected premises. That staircase is built always with a non-combustible material. It is enclosed with non-combustible materials. It has a ventilation which is always provided into that one, or it is provided with a pressurization system, not allowing the smoke or the fire to come inside that one. So it should be enclosed place. So you are into an enclosed place where you are safe. In the balconies also, you push the door of the balcony, go to the balcony, and door gets closed. So you are into the balcony, the door is there, door is also fire rated, the wall is fire rated, so no fire or smoke and come into the balcony space where you are standing, and you can stand there safe. And when you come to ground floor, if you have seen, normally you would have seen in the, I take a lot of reference to mall and multiplex. Why? Because you would have normally been there and you would have normally visualized that one. If you're not visualized, still there is time, you can go. When you are coming down from the staircase to the ground floor, the door, you have to push and get out. You have to push the door, and the door opens outside to the ground level, and you are moving to the ground level. Why? Because once again, the same principle, you push the door and you get out. So the protected premises are to the open surface. That is the intent of that one. Staircase headroom. Why we say that 2.2 meters of staircase headroom? Why? Because the door of the staircase itself should be 2.1 meters minimum. Can I reason that one, sir? I am not getting the height. So you cannot do that one, because you are, once again, your building becomes illegal. You are not following the statutory requirements. It becomes to 2.2 meters. You normally find these things comes when a residential apartment building is built, and they say that, sir, my the beams are coming, my lintel is coming. It is not. I am not getting the height and other things. You have to make sure that you have to have this minimum requirement. Now, in that one, when I say 500 square meters, the one staircase, question to you all is, if I have a building at the center of Ooty or center of Bangalore or whichever the city you are coming from, which is of 499 square meters. Listen me carefully. If it is a building of the one floor plate is of 499 square meters, should I have only one staircase or should I have two staircases?
I think it depends upon the travel distance.
Yeah, it depends upon the travel distance. Now see, one staircase from any corner, you are meeting the travel distance. Then there are a lot of buildings in the, Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, where one floor plate is 4,000 square foot. Only one apartment is there, high-end apartments, 4,000, 4,500 square foot, one apartment, one floor, one apartment. The travel distance is meeting, because from any corner, I have provided sprinkler in that one, any corner, the 45 meter travel distance will be meeting. So, good attempt, but see, once again, this all once again to do with the life safety parts and a statutory requirement. Any building to any building for that matter, it is only 300 square meters or above 500 square meters, minimum 2 staircases required for the buildings. Why? Because if one staircase is under emergency, I need to have another staircase for exit. Fire and life safety is always built on redundancy to redundancy. Means one is there, another one should always be there. So minimum requirement is 2 staircases for any building. 499 square meters, 2 staircases are required. 750 square meters, 2 staircases are required. 3,000 square meters, 2 staircases or more than 2 staircases will be required based on the travel distance and exit ratio part and requirement of that one. Now, here also staircases is provided, one to meet the travel distance. The second is to have a minimum 2 staircase scenario for any building. The third one is on the exit ratio of the staircase. For example, 500 square meters or 7,000 square meters of a floor plate. In that 1,000 square meters, how much staircase you need to provide? Let's say that we have provided 2 numbers of staircase, and that particular building is a business building, that is IT/ITES campus. In that IT/ITES campus, 2 staircases of say other buildings which is 1.5 meters in height, that is 1500 mm. So 1500 mm, this particular staircase can accommodate certain people for exit, only certain people for exit. I cannot say that in one staircase, in that 1000 square meters of place, if I have an 800% staying there or 700% sitting there, can exit out of that one. No, it is not possible. Why? Because there is an exit ratio for each of the staircase. Exit ratio for each of the staircase is every 500 mm, that is every 50 centimeters, 50 people can exit. That is what the standard says. That is what the requirement. 50 centimeters, 50 people can exit. Now 50 centimeters is 500 mm. My is 1.5 meters, that is 1500 mm. I can only exit 150 persons out of that staircase. So I have a floor plate of 1000 square meters, and how much I can load onto that floor plate is a question. That is also there in NBC. That NBC says that 10 square meters per person is the occupancy of the floor. If it is a business building, if it is a business building, means IT/ITES are all the ITNs where they were. 10 square meters per person means National Building Code is giving 100 square foot per person as an livable space in that particular building. Now I have 1000 square meters, 10,000 square foot. 10,000 square foot divided by 100 square foot per person is how much? I can accommodate only 100 people there. In that 100 people, I need to have minimum 2 staircase. Each of the staircase can accommodate 150 persons. So my exit ratio is also meeting the requirement. Providing staircase is for 3 necessities. One is for travel distance. The other one is for minimum requirement of the staircase for exit purpose. The third thing is it also works as an exit path and also meeting the evacuation requirement of the floor. Now, in a mall and multiplex, for example, in a mall and multiplex, or if you've gone to a cinemas, in mall and multiplex, everybody has gone to cinemas. Nobody is there saying that I have not seen a cinema in a mall. So in that cinema hall, if you see, there is an exit door near to the screen, and there is an exit door at the back side of your screen also. Means at the back side, at the top end also, there is a door. Why? Because there are minimum 2 doors, 2 exits required, and you also know that this particular cinema spreads from one floor, goes up to the other floor. If it is starting from 4th floor, it will end up in the 5th floor. 2 height, double height, it will take to accommodate all the seating which is in the stepped manner. Correct? You might enter the cinema in 4th floor and you exit. They will give you exit in the 5th floor. Or you might enter in 5th floor, you exit at 4th floor. That is the scenario. In that situation also, there is travel distance within that cinema hall and number of seats. If you have seen the seats also, you never see in cinema hall in an aisle, in one row, there is more than 14 seats. Once again, there is another statutory called as a director of cinemas. This means cinemas, there is another rule book is called as director of cinemas, that they will also define that one. In a row, you cannot find more than 14 seats. After 14 seats, you need to have 2 meters wide aisle. That is, there is an aisle which is created at the middle, that should be 2 meters wide. From the remotest corner at the last seat of the cinema hall to the door of the cinema, it has to be within permissible travel distance. Okay. So like this, minimum 2 exits are required, and this exits depends upon the evacuation also. And these exits are minimum placed at the required places. And staircase as a requirement, a pictorial representation of the staircase. This staircase is called as a fire shaft or a fire tower, where you have the staircase, you can see the staircase, you have the door of the staircase opening up, and you have a firefighting lobby. This lobby is doubled up with a firefighting lift. When a staircase is along with a lift, which is called as a firefighting lift, this particular entire entity is called as a fire tower or a fire shaft. This fire tower or fire shaft is minimum or must required. If I have a 2 staircases in a building, one of the staircase has to be like this, has to be a fire tower staircase. Why? Because at the ground floor, the fire personnel enters in the staircase. He need not required to worry about the outside if there is any fire or not, because it is an enclosed premises. This door is a fire rated door, and this particular lobby is a pressurized lobby. The staircase is cross ventilated with the natural ventilation, or it is also a pressurized staircase. He comes safely and puts his gear here, and once again enters to the affected premises or emergency premises with all the suitable measures what he has to take care of that one. You see the doors, it opens towards the safety. Push and get in. Push and get in. Or
Sir?
get into the place. Yeah.
Sir, I'm Shama. I have a small doubt, sir. So, what about the requirements with respect to the universal design, sir?
Universal design also same thing. Universally, there are BS, that is British standards, or Singapore standards, or NFPA, National Fire Prevention Association, which is largely followed in America, means USA and Canada. They're also the same requirement, but the travel distance changes there. In India, the travel distance, they give 30 meters. When you put the sprinkler, they enhance it to 45 meters. But in Western countries, like in America, there is no like that. 24 meters is the travel distance there. And there the travel distance increases by height of the building. If your building is 70 floors height, like Empire State Building, 24 meters is the permissible travel distance there. If the building is only
universal in the sense like for all the differently abled and for everyone to access it, sir.
That is the same thing for them. Yeah, that is the same thing for them. Disabled, differently abled or disabled persons also, the travel distance is the same. Okay, but there is a standard operating procedure which says that where the disabled friendly people has to be placed in your office. Okay, I gave an example of somebody in 15th floor. No, they cannot be in 15th floor. Standard operating procedure is the disabled persons with a wheelchair or with an any kind of a disability, they have to be placed in the refuge area only, or in ground or first floor only. They cannot be at any other place so that they can run and they can come out. So they have to be placed in a place where there is a refuge area, or there is a balcony, or it has to be in ground and first floor. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Those are all the standard operating procedures. It is not there as per government statutory. These are all the standard operating procedures which the companies starts doing that one. For example, a Google as a company might have a different standard operating procedure, and Microsoft as a company, they have a different standard operating procedure. Okay. So as we have done projects with them, I am saying that these are their normal things which we look at. And as per sustainability also now, when you provide a toilet, you also provide a disabled friendly toilet. The doors of the toilet will be sliding. You might all gone through that one. So there also sustainability are giving options for disabled has come up in a larger way. And moreover, as I said you, to get out of the seat of fire or seat of emergency, all you required is only 3 minutes to come to the staircase and come down by a floor. It is not, you need not required to panic to that I am in 10th floor and I need to come to ground floor, or I am in 10th floor, I need to go to terrace. No, 1 floor below, that is more than sufficient for you to save the life on that one. Now, in this one, I also get a question. It is a basic question or general knowledge kind of a question. Anybody can try attempting answering this one. Everybody have helped your mothers, or you yourself have worked in kitchens. Suddenly you have kept an frying pan on the hob, and that frying pan caught fire. So what will you do? These situations you would have seen, heard in papers, heard in news. So many of them have died because of kitchen fire. How the kitchen fire happens is because they have kept a pan. There was an pan was burning, and they have put oil onto that one. The fire aggravated even more, and it caught up fire and the things. In this situation, what will you do? What will you advise your mother to do, or what will you advise your wives to do, or ladies here, what you will do if this kind of a situation comes? Go ahead. May the answers be very naive, or it can be kind of an very impromptu also. No mind. I am here to teach you.
Sir, of course, we will switch off the stove first.
Yeah, very good answer. But will you be so bold to go near the flame when it is burning like that, to go and switch off the flame stove? If when you switch off the stove, the flame will be glowing.
Then, yeah, if it's very massive, we can't go near to that one. If it's just starting stage, we can switch off the stove and remove the vessel from the.
Correct. This is all possible when it is a small fire. When you know that there is nothing. But I am talking about a scenario a little bit gone beyond our control. So get it to your control. What will you do? Fire is little bit higher, and you can see the different stages of fire. You might all heard about this one or known about this one. Yellow fire, red fire, on orange kind of a fire, all these things. And you are using an LPG, liquid petroleum gas. Then you see a green color flame also there, because liquid petroleum is burning there.
Pouring of water, sir.
Pouring of water, you have learned from this one, saying that never pour water onto fire. Fire means when it is a kitchen fire. Basically, why? Because there is an heated oil in that one. I am saying about a frying pan with the oil which is burning. If you pour water onto that one, that heated oil will splash over every place, and the fire gets even spreaded out, or it might come and fall on you. You know what happens when a heated oil falls on our skin, right?
So turn off the power and run out of home.
Run out of home is a very good answer. That is very sure. First thing we need to do is run out of the home. Okay, turn on power, turn off power. Which power we will turn off?
The overall control panel box, we can turn off the electric.
But that is fine. But this fire is only on the kitchen. What it starts happening is the kitchen the wardrobes and other things which is made up of wood, it catches fire. Okay. No electrical items will start burning, because the conduit is enclosed inside the wall of the kitchen. It will not start burning. What thing burns it? The kitchen cabinets and starts burning. Other things start burning.
Open the windows.
Correct, sir. Open the windows. You are more aggravating the fire, because you are supplying oxygen to fire.
So you can put a wet cloth on top of it so that the oxygen level cuts on the atmosphere.
So, for example, if a pan is catched fire, maybe you put up a bigger pan and close the fire. Absolutely. If there is no oxygen.
Who said about wet cloth?
So I told about the wet cloth.
Yeah, you identify your name, boss.
Shakil Priyadarshan.
Yeah, very good. That was the answer. Why? Because fire, it spreads. It will start with the three reasons. One is the source. The source is oil or wood or paper or whatever it is. So the second is the oxygen. Oxygen is plentifully available because we are in the open field or open environment. The third thing is the heat. Now, in this frying pan, we have a source, we have an oxygen, we have the heat there. To stop that one, we have to quench the fire. We have to quench the heat. Two things. One is as he said correctly, you have an hand towel or whatever it is there in the kitchen. We use lot of towel, other things in the kitchen. Wet it and pour it on and drop it on top of the fire. What happens is, for the cloth becomes heavier because of water in that one. Water is not allowing oxygen to come in contact of the fire, so thereby fire quenches out. Or the second answer is, there somebody said that you take another bigger pan and close it onto that one. So thereby, if the fire is also there, slowly it will start coming under control. Why? Because it is not supplied with even a necessary amount of oxygen to that one. So the basic things we might forget this one, because we have seen several times on this one in the papers and the news media, but we forget when it is come to our action. So
can they use a CO2 extinguisher, Mr. Prashad?
Yes, they can use it, sir. They can use it, but the operation of CO2 extinguisher should be known. Now, in the panic, we start running out of the building rather than operating a CO2 extinguisher. Okay, any extinguisher. Anybody will. So better, better to have 2 kgs of extinguishers at home. It is 2 kgs is a small. You can have it as a kitchen extinguisher. You can mount it on the kitchen at some place, or keep it below one of your counters, one of extinguishers of 2 kgs. It comes with an open and the pin and press the knob so that the extinguisher starts. CO2 carbon dioxide type, what happens is, carbon dioxide, when you push the carbon dioxide, it will start dissolving the oxygen. But you are open with the window, you have a kitchen which is an open type of kitchen in nature, you cannot dissolve the complete oxygen in that particular environment. Rather to that one, there is an extinguisher called as K-type extinguishers, which is also called as ABC wet powder type extinguishers. So you can use that one, and it will just, when you press that one, a powder kind of an thing will come and phosphate. It is basically an ammonium phosphate will come and settle on that one. So avoiding the oxygen to come in contact of the flame or the fire, and it gets quenched off. So have an oxygen, have an extinguishers, it is very fine. Otherwise, the best method is, you have a towel, you have a tap in your thing, so wet it and put it. So that's, at least let's have that kind of a basic thing now. I'll go back to home and tell our parents or tell our mothers to do that. So if you ask your mother, she will not be knowing this particular answer. She'll say that I will control somehow and I'll manage, don't worry. But don't know how she will manage. So I was talking about this refuge areas in the building, and we also know about refuge areas. We was hearing about that refuge areas. What is this refuge areas? Refuge areas, in the above picture, it shows a residential apartment where all the balconies are considered as refuge area. Okay. Any residential apartment, it is not with the balcony. It has to be with the balcony. The balcony acts as a refuge area. Refuge area is a place you come and take the refuge in case of emergency in your floor. You need not require to go to staircase and come down. If it is possible, do that one. If it is not, come to the refuge area and stay, because fire and smoke, it goes up, it egresses upwards, it doesn't comes downwards. First thing. The second thing is the positive pressure on the outside. The outside wind is having a positive pressure. It will not allow smoke to come here. If there is any small amount of smoke coming, it is not a disturbing smoke where it is a thick smoke, you will get suffocated or you'll be having any kind of an emergency there. And you see a commercial building, ITS campuses, you see first refuge area is provided at the 24th meter. Okay. From there onwards, every 15 meters, 24 meters plus 15 meters, 39 meters, 39 meters plus 15 meters, that is 54 meters, like that, the refuge area starts going on coming. And you can play around with refuge area based on your elevation, however you want, to the corner or the things. And normally the refuge area will be double height, so that they get this elevation point of a thing. It is not required to make it as a double height. You can have it as a single height also. But one side it is open to the surface so that the positive pressure is there. And the other side you have a facade wall or the wall with the door there. From this floor, the people opens the door and comes to the refuge area, close the door, and they stay here safely until somebody comes for rescue and somebody rescues them, or the rescue vehicles or the fire vehicle comes down and rescues them. anything can happen. So this is the refuge area, refuge balcony we talk about.
The doubt of the students would be the size of the refugee area, Mr. Prashant. How do
Yeah.
you size that?
Yeah, I can tell you the calculation. It is simple. So for example, 1000 square meters is your floor area. At 24th meter, say you are coming onto the 6th floor. 2 consecutive floors areas, is 1000 square meters in 6th floor, 1000 square meters in 7th floor, 2 consecutive floor areas divided by occupancy of that floor. How is the occupancy you define? I told you 10 square meters per person for a business building. So 2000 square meters divided by 10 square meters, you get 200 persons. 200 persons into 0.3 square meters per person. When you come to refuge area, because everybody will be standing, they are not at ease or they are not at luxury to be given 100 square foot. They are given only 0.3 square meters. That is 30 square foot is given to them. So 200 into 0.3 square meters. That is 60 square meters is the refuge area what you need to create at the 24th meter level. If your building, if your floor plate is 1000 square meters. So
I can divide that into multiple numbers, Mr. Prashant.
Yeah, you can divide it into multiple purposes. For example, I have a balcony here. Another balcony, you can create it at the same other end also. Here it can be 30 square meters. Here it can be 30 square meters.
Lovely, lovely. These are the kind of doubts the students normally have or will have, particularly these architects.
Yeah. So you can split the refuge area. Now there are several things which is coming up. You know, as you come into the project, the engineer like me will be advising you. This refuge area should be in attachment to the fire tower. You saw the fire tower, the staircase which we called it as a fire tower. It has to be along with that fire tower, connected to the fire tower. Why? Because guys who are coming from 7th floor, 8th floor or 9th floor, they can come to the staircase through the staircase, which is an enclosed place where they are not getting into the seat of fire, or they are not coming in across to the fire at all. They can come to the staircase, open the door, come to the refuge area at ease. They are not exposed to the risk at all. That one, so that you have to have a connection between the fire tower and the refuge area. This is also a requirement. You know, when you start planning, you can plan that one. So we also as engineers can help you on that one. At least now you know the refuge area you can provide. And refuge area requirement for each of the different classification of the buildings are different. When I talk about a mall and multiplex, at the 18th meter level only you have to provide a refuge area for mall and multiplex. That is an assembly building. That is any kind of a mall and multiplex if you are designing. One at the 18th meter, one at the 24th meter we need to provide. And next is 30 meters, which is the height of the building there. If it is an IT building, you have to start from 24th meter, 24 plus 15 meters from there, 24 plus 15, 39, 39 plus 15, 54, 54 plus 15, like that. Every 15, 15 you can go at whatever the height it is. Terrace is also considered as a refuge, but normally in what happens in general situation is you don't see this kind of a plain terrace. There will be a lot of engineering equipments which will come and occupy the terrace. And in this terrace, it is a pictorial representation. There is a staircase here which has to come to the terrace. There is a staircase here which has to come to the terrace. And there will be a question from your side saying that all the staircases need to come to terrace or what? Yes, minimum 2 staircases has to come to terrace. It has to come to the terrace, and terrace there it should have a staircase headroom, and there the door once again opens outwards. Push to get out. The staircase door at the terrace level, it opens outwards. Like it opens in the ground floor, it also opens the same way in the terrace. Push and get out. You are come to the 10th floor, 11th is your terrace. From 10th you come to the terrace, you push the door, get out. Push the door, go to the open surface, and the door gets automatically closed. There you have to have a staircase there. The staircases should come there. For an example, if the floor plate is 60,000 square foot, so there you might require 4 or 5 staircases. Out of that 4 or 5 staircases, minimum 2 staircases has to come to terrace. Okay, these are all the requirements on that one. No, special features. We come across this kind of a special features. You know, basically several other agencies also collaborate, or several other agencies also play a picture in that one, part in that one. Like you suddenly see across the site area of ours, there is a high tension line which is going around. 33 kVA or 63 kVA high tension lines are going around. There are requirements from electricity board, Indian electricity code, and other things saying that if you have a 33 kVA line, from that 33 kVA line, our building has to be 11 meters away. So if you have a 66 kVA line, from that 66 kVA line, our building has to be 28 meters away. These are all the requirement what it comes. So as an architect, you are the first person to see the site, and an enthusiastic developer or realtor comes to you saying that you are an architect, come to my site, we have a site visit together, and we want to build a building there, come, let's go to site. What are the things what you need to look at the site immediately when you go there? First thing is whether you have an approach road to the site. Is that approach road of 12 meters wide? Is that approach road 12 meters wide continuous? It is not a dead end, or it is not having any kind of a cul-de-sac. That is the first thing. The second thing is whether you have any, you raise your head and see whether you have any kind of an high tension lines passing over there. In India, you see, you know that all the electrical lines are above line only. There is no below ground lines here. So 33 kVA, 66 kVA lines are going there and other things. If it is going there, then you cannot have a building built there. There are a lot of regulations which comes into picture. Then also there is an land, based on the land requirement. If it is an you see an nala, or if you say storm drain network going there adjacent to the property, then there comes in. Sir?
No, sir, please continue. Please continue.
Yeah, you see you saw a big storm drain nala going there, a storm drain network going there. Then there is a regulation from the environmental bodies of the states, respective state environmental committee. They say that from that one you have to have certain distance away from your building. So keep these particular necessities, or keep these particular tick boxes when you immediately visit the site and start the building, because a developer or realtor, for him, his land is the precious. He will tell anything, but we are all then intellectual things. We have to start advising to them on that one. Sir, I don't know how much time I have. Sir, how is it? Can I continue going ahead or quickly move? Or
No, you please suit yourself, Mr. Prashant. It's all up to you. We are all very happy to be, in this webinar. You please take your time the way you like it, please. Absolutely no problem from our end.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Same on the firefighting system also. Lot of our envelope planning, it depends upon the life safety requirement, like ramp location, travel distance, staircase location, lift positioning, and the lift lobby sizes, everything it comes into picture. Once again, and firefighting system, a few of the basic things I'll go on telling. I explained this one to you. What is the golden triangle of the fire? One is what are the three sources required for fire to glow: oxygen, fuel, and heat. Fuel can also be told as source. The suppression or the quenching of fire happens by taking out one of the thing. You take out fuel, or you take out oxygen, or you take out heat. These are the things which will happens. Majorly, this fuel, that is source, and heat is impossible to, quite impossible, next to impossible to take out. So all the suppression medias are operation based on taking out the oxygen. You put water, you are taking out oxygen and you are taking out heat. You put powder, you are taking out oxygen. You put wet cloth, you are taking out oxygen. So fuel, it is impossible to take out. Either an oil is burning or a wood is burning. I cannot take out the wood completely. So this is a golden triangle. You can just have the thing on that one. Classification of fires. So what is the different types of fires I was telling about? So class K fires we explained. That is kitchen fires are called as class A fire, class K fires. Metal fires. C is electrical fire. B is fire which is of flammable liquids. A is because of ordinary combustible materials, paper, wood, cloth, anything which is burning. and different type of extinguishing medias are there for to use onto this one. That's the thing. And as I was telling in the beginning, fire and life safety or firefighting system can be designed on several parts, which is National Building Code, NFPA, that is National Fire Prevention Authority, they have a handbook on that one. Factory mutuals, these are also one of the insurance agency which they insure your building if you follow their requirement, their guidelines to design the building. British Standards Bureau of British, there every states and every country has their own standards to adopt onto the thing. So generally, any state, as I said, it is having their own standards. Karnataka State and Fire and Emergency Service, there the authority also holds the authority who is holding the jurisdiction also can guide you on certain parameters. He might overrule the guidelines like National Building Code to suit the requirement of city of Bangalore or city of the Ooty. There is a fire officer there. He will say that you are permitted to have such and such a kind of a thing. You are not permitted to have such and such a kind of a thing. Same explanation: width of the road, strength of the road, and height and clearance. This is one part where I was not covered earlier. If you planning for any kind of a pergola or entrance portal for a property, that entrance portal it has to be 6 meters from the FFL, that is finished ground level, FGL, your finished ground level to the bottom of the portal of yours. Any portal, you plan a portal, you plan an entrance pergola or anything, it has to be 6 meters. Why? Because the fire truck come inside that one, it should not be having any kind of an hindrance in the movement on that one. The setbacks, we discussed on the setbacks. Staircase and staircase pressurization, I said about if this is a staircase, staircase can be pressurized from top, or you can have a natural ventilation from the sides. And this is on the firefighting system. Apart from this is basically totally engineering. An engineer will obviously help you on that one. But what are the requirements of a firefighting system? Heart of the system is the pumping. You have a reservoir where the static storage of water will be there. And for that water, there will be a pumping system. If there is any kind of an emergency, this pumping starts based on the pressure losses and other things, and it will start working. You can see the pumping arrangement and other things, a pictorial representation. You can see this kind of a pumping system and other things in your residential apartments or in offices or in mall and multiplexes, where you can see that. These are all the equipments, what you can see. Externally, you would have seen this one. Next to the staircase, you would have seen this kind of a thing. This is an hose reel box. You can unwind this one, take the thing. Why you give 45 travel distances? This can unwind up to 40 meters. From there, the throw of water is considered as another 5 meters to reach to the remotest place. Automatic sprinkler system, I said, you might have seen this kind of a sprinklers and other things. And okay, I will only tell what is there inside the sprinkler, how the sprinkler work, how it makes as an automatic. This sprinkler, there is a sprinkler bulb. This is called as Ethusian bulb. Inside this bulb, what the liquid is filled up is nothing but glycerin. You might all heard about the glycerin as a liquid. The glycerin chemical properties of glycerin is when the ambient temperature increases there, the glycerin also starts expanding and burst opening this glass bulb. When the glass bulb burst opens, the water comes out from this particular mouth here. This particular end is connected to the pipe which is having the water, and this comes and falls on this particular plate, deflector plate. This deflector plate will splash out the water in the form of umbrella or in the form of skidding, saying that it will start pouring on a certain area of coverage. I said that coverage area of the sprinkler is 9 to 12 square meters. One sprinkler can cover up to 9 square meters of area. So like that. Different ratings of the sprinklers are also there. Just the schematic representation of this one, because you have a reservoir, you have the pumps, and you have a sprinkler. In case of any of the fire, this automatic sprinkler, because of the increase in the ambient temperature of that particular floor, this it increases. The sprinkler it can withstand up to 68 degrees centigrade. For example, the ambient reaches 68 degrees, the glycerin inside the bulb starts expanding and it bursts open, putting the water. When the water starts throwing from here, because of the differential pressure loss here, this particular pump starts working. You also might know that in your homes and other things, there is a pressure pump which is put for your shower purpose or other washing machine purpose and other things. When the washing machine starts, the pressure pump starts. It will switch off, it will also switch off. When you open your shower, the pressure pump starts. When you close your shower, the pressure pump starts. The same kind of a differential pressure mechanism it all works under. Fire detection system. Once again, you might have heard about this one. Smoke sensors are placed here. Smoking is prohibited. All these things. The smoke sensors are nothing but it looks like this. These are all the smoke sensors which will be placed, and these are all the panels and associated thing of that one. These smoke sensors are placed at the ceiling level. There is a chambers here, and there will be an LED display and LED light and frame there. So which will recognize the smoke. It will collect the sample of the smoke and check that whether how many microns of dust particles is there in that smoke. If the dust particles increase in certain microns, then it will recognize that one as a smoke and it will start giving alarm. This particular thing is hardwired to this panel, so that panel will also give an indication to an alarm device, and you will get alarm saying that please evacuate the building, or please get into safety, or there will be a big horn hooter sound saying that to identify, saying that it is a smoke and other things. Public address system, it is also part of the firefighting system, where the public addressing can be done, saying that sitting at one place, please evacuate the building, or 10th floor is under emergency. Guys who are there, are the occupants who are there from 9th floor and below, please stay calm, stay there. It is not required to panic, because fire and smoke doesn't comes down. So 10th floor, let the 10th floor people first evacuate, 11th floor people then come out, then slowly 9th floor people can go down to safety kind of a thing. You can make the announcement also. This is how the annunciation system works on that one. Signages, you can have you might have seen in the buildings and the staircases, in case of emergency, don't use lift, call this particular number, this is this particular floor, and all these things the displayed, which is called as a fire signages. This is how you would have seen this kind of an alert message, and what are the things you need to do, and which number to call and other things. Complete firefighting solution, which is having a pumping system, mechanical system, which is a sprinkler, and then hydrant, which is a manually operated system, and you have a detection system, which is a preventive measure kind of a thing, because there is no smoke without fire. When there is a fire, a small amount of smoke, also this particular senses that one and gives you an upfront notification of there is a fire, so that you can evacuate out of the building. So thank you on that one, and any questions I am open to take up and give you relevant replies.
Thank you, sir, for an elaborate explanation on basic and the necessary bylaws on safety of the building, design consideration for fire safety, various fire safety systems and fire detection system, and also the industry practices. Now to the audience, the forum is open for the question and answer. You can either voice over your questions through mic or even type in the public chat box.
Yeah, alternative firefighting systems, basically for our large scale offices and other things, that is a sprinkler system is what is used. It is an automatic means of fire suppression. And there is a fire prevention, which is also the sensors, that is the smoke sensors, which is placed in the office spaces. And in offices, if you little bit deep dive into that one, there are something called as computer rooms or server rooms. Okay, the server rooms doesn't want water to immediately spread across and create an havoc with regards to all the data what they are stored. there is a different kind of a separation system for that one, which is called as gas-based separation. Gas-based separation, as I said, extinguisher, like a small extinguisher, what you look at, the same kind of a thing, a bigger volume. As 2 kgs of carbon dioxide extinguisher can fight with a small amount of fire, that the same 2 kgs, if it becomes 200 kgs of carbon dioxide cylinder, and from that cylinder piping is done through a nozzle, the carbon dioxide is pumped inside an enclosed room, what it does is it will dissolve the oxygen. So thereby fire will not glow. If there is any kind of a fire which has happened in the server room, there are gas suppression medias like carbon dioxide, there are gas suppression medias like FM200, there is gas suppression medias like Novak, which are all the different chemical agents. So based on different chemical properties like fluoroketone or ephthafluoropropane, using all these things we can dissolve the oxygen without creating any impact on the environment, without creating any impact on the human beings there. If you carbon dioxide, you can also have and get exposed to the carbon dioxide, but longer exposure to the carbon dioxide, you might get giddiness and you might faint out. But humans can withstand up to certain amount of carbon dioxide there. So we use this kind of an gaseous medias for suppressing fire in case somebody doesn't want water there.
Sir, this is Rajagopalan, one of the faculty members. Sir, I want to share few experience what you what happens in a ongoing site. What precautions should we take while going there to avoid fire during construction? What precaution? Because we don't have anything on manual. Probably when we go on a check, what precautions should we take? Can you just advise on that?
Yeah, so basically, like me as a consultant, when I go to an under construction building, okay, then I certainly request to the project manager there or anybody there saying that any kind of an fire activity like welding, doing a welding or cutting the thing or such kind of a things we should not be done, and safety gears is always there, the shoes, from the shoes to a helmet and other things, it is there. And also there is a standard operating procedures or the guidelines given to the contracting fraternity saying that they should have a sand bucket with them when they are doing any kind of an electrical works, or when they are doing welding, or when they are cutting the rods or something. They should have a sand bucket. They should have extinguishers like carbon dioxide extinguishers and powder type extinguishers with them. And at least in each of the floor there should be one drum of water. Water might be, it is not good for any kind of an usage. Even muddy water is also good for me, because for quenching fire, it doesn't fire will not distinguish between a good water and a clean water. So at least one drum of water in a floor, that is also good. And in any case, if it something out of control though happens to us, why we said that one drum of water is, you would at least wet yourself, get wet yourself from the water. Your cloth and yourself get wet from yourself. So we all know that in case of emergency or in case of fire, how to escape is you also get wet and slowly crawl down, not coming onto the normal height. You have to crawl down and get to the emergency, because crawling will avoid you from inhaling the gases or inhaling the smoke which is getting released, because smoke will be heavier than air, and it will try to settle upwards. It will not settle downwards. It will try to settle upwards. So by crawling, you will once again try avoiding the inhalation of smoke and other things. So it is, safety is not one man's job, it is everybody's job. So everybody has to be cautious in doing this.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Prashant, there is one doubt I thought I'll ask you to clarify to the students. There is, you have multiple basements, say 3 basements and about 10 or 15 or 20 upper floors. And the staircase which go to the same staircase goes to the basement, and the same staircase goes upwards as well, starting from the lowest basement to the terrace. should the exit from the basement be separated with a firewall in between at the ground floor level, going all the way down to the basement, or can it be is it still being practiced with the firewall or without the firewall? In between.
Yeah, see, the two cases here, two situations here. What happens is that is called a segregation of staircase. The staircase has to be, normally NBC says that you need to have a separate staircase for basement, separate staircase from ground floor and above. Okay. Here the architecture has evolved saying that I can take the same staircase down using the common staircase to go to the basement and to come to the upper levels also. But I need to create a segregation at the ground floor. So this segregation should be within wall as preferably. Why? Because any kind of a smoke or any kind of an emergency at the ground floor, at the basement, the smoke should not come once again penetrate inside the staircase and come to the ground floor and create a panic over there. So that's the reason why we call the segregation as a wall there. Generally, what happens is some of the states and some of the agencies, some of the government bodies still do accept with an fabrication work there, means jolly work of gate or something there, so that the humans or the people cannot go from ground floor to basement directly. In case of emergency where they are running out, they should come out of the building rather than once again enter inside the building going to the basement. And from basement also nobody should directly come to the ground floor, so they have to go out of the building once again come back. So for this purpose they put in fabricated jolly work. It depends upon the state to state and authority to authority, but preferably to the reason is we will not allow the smoke and fire from the basement to engulf or the aggravate to the ground floor, basically.
Thank you, Mr. Prashant. Thank you.
Sir, for a multi-level parking building, is there any extra points to be considered as fire safety?
Multi-level parking building as per National Building Code, there is a separate classification. There is separate this one annexure called as annexure H, which is for multi-class multi-level car parkings. Okay. Normally within the building, for example, from ground floor to you are doing a multi-level car parking, you can do the multi-level car parking up to 7 levels. 7 levels of multi-level car parking is allowed as per National Building Code. Thereafter, you can plan your office, your residential apartment, and any kind of stuff. Or in these 7 levels, you can do multi-tier car parkings, or you can have a separate building which is called as a multi-level car parking building, MLCP, what we normally call it as MLCP, with a multi-stack car parking in that one. So normally this one is the authority perspective is also to have an externally open. Okay. All sides it is open so that the ventilation becomes easy, cross ventilation is there. There is no problem with regards to any kind of an smoke and fire in that one. If there is an enclosed building, automatically car parking, mechanical car parks. Let's say this is what is coming up now, not done in India, only on 1 or 2 places is done. You leave your car, automatically car goes and parks to its own place and other things, it is there. So that is an enclosed environment with an air conditioned requirement for other things and other things. There also what happens is there is a requirement for staircase. There the staircase becomes your core. In that core only you have to move up and come down in the thing. So there is also a requirement, and there is a sprinkler system requirement for that one, and there is also a detection system requirement for that one.
Sanil?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think if there are no more questions from the students, you can thank Mr. Prashant. What are thanks?
Yeah. Yes, I just wanted to know whether there are some questions from the third year batch, because they are actually dealing with this and they always come up with questions in the class. So I was thinking that they could directly address Prashant sir and have the queries, cleared out in case they have, because we will be coming and discussing their designs next. And this is also important for the second year.
Ashwati, why are you not asking any questions today? Where is she? Normally there are 3 questions from your side every webinar. particularly you like a design tree so much, Ashwati. Where is she?
So,
Srijaya, Gopika.
Prashant sir, we have all our years today. We also have our postgraduate students attending. They're also working on, two of these batches are working on IT offices and mixed use offices. And generally our discussions always continue at the point where they start off with the 6 meter 6 meter path for the fire truck, and there's always questions that how do you place that out, and many times they would show us a landscape patch and they would tell us that sir, the fire truck can move across that landscape patch. So I think that is one myth that has to be very clearly stated across from your side than from our side, that the landscape patch cannot be a place through which the fire truck can move.
The thing is, I don't want to discourage them. As I said, it has to be 45 tons loading capacity. Okay. In the on the external after the building, might be I am on top of the podium. On top of the podium, normally the people will take 300 or 400 mm for filling, for to have the slope from the wall, the building wall to the external of the stormwater drain and other things, and they create an pavers. Concrete pavers have been done, asphalting has been done, and few of them also do the landscaping. I say that landscaping has to take the weight of 45 tons. Otherwise, what happens is, if you create a landscape and Ooty or Bangalore, yesterday a whole day it was raining, and today if there is any emergency, the fire truck comes there, the wheel gets stuck inside that mud rather than coming up. That is one part. So my thing is, why don't you look at both the ways? For example, you have 10 meters or 15 meters of hardscape, say break the monolithic requirement of that one, and another 1 meters or 2 meters of the patchwork kind of patch landscaping you can do. Okay, so thereby you will not see an red black color paved or black color asphalted road next to your building. You want to create some greenery out of that one, you can create greenery out of that one, or you find a lot of pavers have come in which is having an withstanding capacity of 45 tons, and where the grass also grows there. You can grow some little bit of grass in that one. Apart from that, nothing much on that. You cannot plan for any shrubs, or you cannot plan an longish landscaping in that place. Try evolving around the concept, hard surface, patch of green surface, hard surface, patch of green surface, like that, rather than creating complete green surface and getting into the wrath of the approving authorities.
Yeah, it'll be a good experiment in design also, to kind of think of these mixes. Anyways, so there's one question for you, that can the fire spread between two floors openings via an atrium in the center? They're doing a shopping mall this particular batch. See, we allow you to explore any kind of a thing. You can have an atrium at the center, and with the center of a mall, and allow the experience of complete 4 floors or 5 floors of openness in that one. At that point of a time, what we as a fire engineers do is, at the edge of the floor, we give then curtain kind of a sprinkler curtains, what we call it as curtain sprinklers, where there will be a sprinkler. If any kind of an emergency happens in that floor, this curtain nozzles opens up and create a sheet of fire, like what you would have seen in sheet of fire in an water body. Like there is a sheet of fire, water is falling. Like that, the sheet of water will create at the edge of the atrium, so that any kind of a smoke or fire in the atrium will not come inside the floor plate. So like that we will create. Or we have also other thing called as fire and smoke drop down curtains. Okay, so in case of fire, there is a curtain which is drop down, which is enrolled and kept at the ceiling level, and it will drop down, creating a barrier between one place and another place by means of a curtain. But this curtain is fire and smoke rated, so it will not allow fire and smoke to come from one zone to another zone. You are permitted to have the atriums, no problem. Yeah. So I think, sir, we have taken up a lot of time of yours, but we, thank you immensely, Prashant sir, for taking time out on a Sunday and coming to Megan's in a virtual mode, because it's all pandemic related. So you're coming virtually, but we are happy that you took time out today and that you've given your your experiences and your information, which is very useful for all the students. So we thank you and thank your organization Design Tree for this wonderful initiative and for taking, answering questions while the discussion was going on. It was very, very point to point. You had, you had a presentation, but you also had a series of questions, because there were a lot of queries from the group of students that were there in the, that were already there in their minds. So it's good that you could take time out. We thank you for this. We thank Design Tree for this particular initiative. And we also thank our faculty team, including our dean, including our organizers, Professors Jayapriya and Professor Vani, for taking time out. We also thank our administration staff, including Mr. Harikrishnan Venugopal, who have taken time out and organized this particular event for Megan's. And we thank all the webinar participants and all the students who have been part of this particular webinar. And I wish you all a very wonderful and a happy weekend and a happy Sunday. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prashant.
Thank you, sir. It was nice interacting with you all, and we all wish saying that there was no pandemic, and we also visited you to clear the doubts of the students, because they would have come up with their, whatever they have done on the project and other things we would have done. We would have explained it there and there itself, because we have done this one BNB College of Architecture and Dayanand Sagar College of Architecture here. So regularly we go for them, and for 6th sem or the 7th sem students, when they do the project works, we validate that project basically, whether they have done it correctly or not. So it will be very nice to interact, and it will be nice to see the future architects in growing up, and will be very nice to interact with them. At least we got this much of opportunity to interact on the virtual mode, and thanks for giving us and creating an opportunity at least. And we are open to any kind this kind of an virtual sessions at any point of a time. If students are ready with any kind of a program or any kind of a project, if they want to show us and talk to us, you have all our email IDs. You can drop in a mail. Certainly, if not today, means if it not immediately after some time, certainly we will reply to that one, clearing their doubts also on that matter. Thank you all, and thanks Dean sir, and thank you Mr. Sunil for
when the pandemic subsides, I request you to visit our campus, stay for a day or two, and give your offline interaction benefit to our students, Mr. Prashant. I'll invite the whole of, I don't know how many of you will be having the time to visit our campus when the COVID subsides, but I'll be the happiest person to receive you in person and interact in an offline mode with the students directly. That will be the greatest moment for the students. It comes out of that many years of excellent experience should be passed on to the benefit of the students. And thank you so much. And please convey my regards to Mr. Reddy as well.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
Week on week, relentlessly, you are providing this service to our students. I have no words to explain to thank you enough for taking your time off on a Sunday, because that is the only day which is available, and you are giving that also for the benefit of the students. You are proving to be a wonderful human beings and wonderful engineers in this service. Thank you so much again.
Thank you very much, sir. If it was on a regular weekday, it was not possible because of our work friends. It is Sunday, it is better, the better. So, and certainly we come to McGann's because I was looking at the campus of yours. It is very interesting to learn through the campus. So I will certainly.
The family also, we are always open to receive you along with the families. We are absolutely have no problem. We can receive you, have you in our place. We have guest houses. We can take care of your every logistics because it is not about spending on the logistics. It's about getting the knowledge, shared from your side to the students. That alone is important for us.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Let's all hope that this pandemic subsides and cases come down and all are safe and healthy, so that we all visit and see together in an offline mode.
Take a break. We'll be happy to give you that break at Ooty.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you all. And thank you, Ms. Vani, for arranging this one. And thank you all the administration staff for creating this particular thing. Thank you, students, for patience hearing. Happy Sunday to you all. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
But thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you.